I've been promising for a few days now that we'd talk about breathing, so that's what we're going to get into in this video. Hi, Bryan from Airflow Music here. Welcome back to another video. This is day 11 of our Go Practice Daily series. Now, I promised a few days ago when I had that technical mishap day that I would be talking about breathing in an upcoming video, and this is that video. And with retrospect, it's actually a good thing that went a bit wrong the other day, because really what I need to say about this is much more simple than I'd made out before. So all we need to do is really keep this very easy indeed. When I take a nice deep breath, nice deep relaxed breath, or even take a smaller breath, if I'm taking an easy natural breath, my chest lifts up. Nice breath like this. You see, my chest lifts up. Now, the only time that doesn't happen is if we belly breathe, which is something that is often suggested for us to do as brass players. I'm going to go ahead and say you don't need to do that. Okay? If you're pushing your belly out as you breathe, it doesn't help you. It doesn't make any extra space for your lungs to fill with air, because the diaphragm is flattening out as you breathe in and forming a shelf that protects your lungs from the other organs in your body anyway. So they're not up in that space behind your rib cage where your lungs live. Okay? In fact, all you're doing is taking any help you might get from the core muscles of your body out of the equation. So you're making it harder for yourself than you need to. So, very simple. Nice deep breath. Chest comes up, belly doesn't push out. That's all we need to deal with. Okay? And this is true whether we're taking a big breath or a small breath. But in terms of a deep breath, I'm thinking of a nice, open, relaxed breath, where as much air as we need for what we have to play is going to come in. Okay? Now, having taken that breath and the chest is up, breath support comes into play. And breath support literally means that once your chest is up, you're going to hold it up all the time that you play. Okay? That's all it is. So, these are the very simple things we need to remember. Take a nice, relaxed breath. Chest picks up like that. Then, as I play, just in the same way as I would when I sing, the chest stays up there. If I do that, then I'm supporting my breath and all the core muscles of my body are engaged so they can work together if I need to add a little extra breath support. For instance, if I want to play in the higher register or play something extremely loud. Okay? Doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. Anyway, now we've got that out of the way, let's get into the exercises for today. We're still doing set 2, and so we'll get into exercise 1. For this one, everything remains the same as it has up to this point. We are going at 60 beats a minute. We're focusing on trying to play in time, so I'm tapping my foot and subdividing the beat. I'm breath attacking the first note of each phrase, and on the rest bar, the fourth bar of each phrase, I'm trying to breathe in time, out for 2 beats, back in for 2 beats. Personally, I'm playing this long setting, so I'm leaving the mouthpiece in place on my lips throughout the entirety of the exercise. If you do need to enter your water key, make sure you keep the mouthpiece in place while you do it. So, with that, let's pay careful attention to our breathing today and make sure that we breathe so our chest picks up and we hold it up as we play those notes. We'll find that we don't need to blow quite as hard as we may have done before. Okay? But let's give it a try and see if we can put it into practice with the exercise. Okay, so that was exercise 1 for today. I got off to a little bit of a slow start just in terms of how my chops felt. It took a few lines for them to start to feel focused, but overall I felt pretty good about how that went. I was focusing on my breathing, trying to keep the chest up. As you will have seen in any time you've watched me play exercises or performance clips or anything like that, if you watch carefully, I know particularly when I'm playing high notes, people always want to kind of watch what's happening with the chops, and that's not usually where the story is. The story is actually in the breath support. So when you see clips like that, keep an eye out for that. Particularly on my clips, you'll notice that when I get that good breath and something goes real well, chest is up. Just need to address something quickly that came to me not only in the comments but by email after yesterday's video, which was that someone was saying when I increased the tempo of exercise 2 to 100 beats a minute, that was really helpful because they were struggling to get through the 4-bar phrase in one breath at 80 beats a minute. So there's a couple of things just to check out there, and I made a video about this actually a couple of weeks ago. In particular, if we're playing that, my question to you is, in that instance, if you're one of those people who's been struggling with playing those 4 bars all through since I extended the pattern, how do you get on with exercise 1? Because I know that's only 3 bars, but that's going at 60 beats a minute, and 4 bars at 80 beats a minute takes exactly the same length of time. So I suspect it's not breath control that's the issue here, so much as using your breath incorrectly while you're tonguing. That's my suspicion for what's going on. And I actually made a video about this at the very beginning of this Go Practice series, episode 2, and we're on episode 13 now, I think. So about 2 weeks ago, okay? I'll link that video down below. It's about how to tongue more efficiently. It'll be up in the cards as well if you're direct on YouTube. And just check that out, because the thing we don't need to do is blow every time we tongue a note. And that's what tends to waste our air when we're playing something like that, okay? So, exercise 2, we're continuing with what we started yesterday, which is to play this at 100 beats a minute. We're continuing with the set 2, exercise 2 pattern, so this is the slightly longer version still, even though we're going a little faster. So, we've got 3 bars of 8th notes. First bar slurred, second bar tongued, third bar split between slurred and tongued, 2 beats each. Okay, before the hold, and then the 2 bars rest, during which we're going to get the horn off of our lips, reset, and start again on the downbeat, nicely in time. Okay? Again, let's pay attention to our breathing. Make sure we get that good breath, the chest is up, should make life a little easier. Okay? Okay, so that was exercise 2. How are we getting on? How's this breathing feeling to you? Are you able to get to grips with this now we've played a few things? You'll see that, breathing that way, getting that nice easy breath, letting your chest pick up, works whether you're breathing through your nose or through your mouth if you're doing long setting in exercise 1. It also works equally well whether you're sitting down or standing up. So this is a real simple thing we can do to make sure that this works well. Okay? How are you getting on with this? Does it feel strange to you? Is this something different to what you've heard before? Does it feel weird to do it? Please leave me a comment down below and let me know how you're finding it, because I'm interested to know where you're coming from, what you're dealing with now, and how that is. Okay? Right, that's about it for this one. With all the explanation about breathing, we've gone a little long today. But that's okay. It was worthwhile information and important to touch upon. Okay? So I'm going to see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow. And in the meantime, please do hit that like button if you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And when you subscribe, ring the notification bell so you're notified when the next video is posted. I'll be back tomorrow, as I say, and in the meantime, I think you know what to do. Go practice.